Have you ever felt that sinking feeling in a conversation where you know you're trying too hard? You're asking all the questions, you're leaning in, you're laughing a little too loudly, and you can physically see the other person pull back. It's a silent, awkward dance of social desperation. The science behind this is surprising, and most people will miss the final framework because it requires letting go of control. They'll stay stuck trying harder when the real power is in trying differently. Chasing energy. In our human behavior lab, we see this pattern constantly. We call it the pursuit dynamic. It's when one person in an interaction is expending a significantly higher amount of social energy than the other. This isn't just a feeling, it's a collection of observable, measurable cues. The person with chasing energy sends out a cascade of nonverbal signals that, on a subconscious level, communicate neediness and lower social value. And our brains are exquisitely attuned to pick up on these signals. For instance, in a conversation, a chaser will often overcontribute. They fill every single pause with a question or a comment because silence feels threatening. It feels like a void they have to pack with their own effort to keep the connection alive. Their vocal pitch tends to rise and their pace of speech quickens, which are both vocal cues our brains associate with anxiety and a lack of groundedness. Their body language also tells a story. They might engage in excessive nodding, a nonverbal plea for agreement and validation. They lean in far more than the other person, physically closing the gap in a way that can feel invasive. Their gestures are often quick and contained, close to their body, which signals nervousness as opposed to the open, expansive gestures of someone who is comfortable and confident. These are what I call taker cues. They are not necessarily taking something tangible, but they are trying to take validation, take approval, take a positive reaction. And the other person's brain, specifically the amygdala, which is our neural threat detection center, picks up on this. It doesn't register it as a life or death threat, of course, but it does register a social imbalance. It feels like pressure. The subconscious thought is, this person wants something from me. And the natural human response to that kind of social pressure is to retreat, to create distance, to pull away. This creates a devastating feedback loop. The chaser senses the other person pulling back, which triggers their own insecurity and fear of rejection. So, what do? They chase harder. They ask more questions, they compliment more, they lean in further, and in doing so, they send out even more of those needy cues, causing the other person to retreat even more. It's a downward spiral fueled by a fundamental misunderstanding of social dynamics. The chaser believes that connection is built through sheer effort, that if they just try hard enough, they can win the other person over. But in reality, they are broadcasting a scarcity mindset. Their energy says, I need this interaction to go well for me to feel okay. And that is a very heavy burden to place on another person. This dynamic isn't just for romance or networking, it happens in job interviews when a candidate is overly eager to please. It happens in leadership when a manager is constantly seeking their team's approval. It happens in friendships when one person is always the one to initiate plans, text first, and carry the emotional load. The core issue is an external locus of control. The chaser has outsourced their sense of well-being to the other person's reaction. Their emotional state is entirely dependent on getting a positive response. This is an incredibly fragile and exhausting way to live and interact. The first step to breaking this pattern is simply to become aware of it, to notice the cues in yourself. In your next conversation, just observe. Are you the one filling every silence? Is your body leaning forward while theirs is straight or leaning back? Are you asking question after question without sharing anything of substance about yourself? This awareness isn't for judgment, it's for data collection. You're being a detective of your own behavior, and once you have the data, you can begin to make a change. The shift. So, how do we stop chasing? The answer isn't to become cold, aloof, or to start playing hard to get. Those are just different forms of manipulation and game playing. The real solution is a genuine internal shift from a pursuit mindset to a magnet mindset. It's about recalibrating your social energy so that you are no longer trying to pull value from an interaction, but are instead inviting others to co-create value with you. This is a profound change that starts on the inside and then radiates outward through your nonverbal cues. The framework for this is what I call anchor and invite. It's a two-step process for fundamentally altering your energetic signature in any social setting. The first part is to anchor. Before you even enter a conversation, you have to anchor yourself in your own intrinsic value. Chasing energy comes from a place of feeling like you are not enough, that you have to earn your place in the room. Anchoring is the antidote. It's about generating a state of internal validation before you seek it externally. There are a few science-backed ways to do this. One is through posture. Research by social psychologist Amy Cuddy shows that adopting expansive power poses for just 2 minutes can increase feelings of confidence and decrease feelings of anxiety. Before a meeting or a date, find a private space and stand with your hands on your hips or your arms stretched out wide. This isn't about faking it. It's about signaling to your own brain and body that you are safe, powerful, and deserve to take up space. Another anchoring technique is a value affirmation. Remind yourself of 3 things you genuinely bring to the table, not in an arrogant way, but in a factual way. I am a curious person. I am a good listener. I have a unique perspective on this topic. This primes your brain to operate from a place of fullness, not from a place of deficit. Once you feel anchored, the second step is to invite. This is where you change your outward behavior. Instead of chasing, you invite. An invitation is an opening, not a demand. It's creating a space for the other person to step into willingly. How does this look in practice? Vocally, you slow down your rate of speech and intentionally use downward inflection at the end of your sentences. This signals calm and certainty. You also embrace the power of the pause. After you ask a question, you hold a comfortable silence, giving the other person the space to think and formulate a thoughtful response. This is a massive cue of confidence. It says, I am not desperate for an immediate answer. I trust that the connection will hold even in silence. Your questions also change. Chasers ask rapid-fire, closed-ended questions that feel like an interrogation. Magnets ask open-ended, curiosity-driven questions. Instead of, did you have a good weekend? You might ask, what was the most interesting part of your weekend? This invites a story, not just a one-word answer. It shows genuine curiosity about the other person's world, rather than just trying to keep the conversational ball in the air. Your body language shifts from leaning into what I call the open posture. You keep your torso and heart area open and unobscured. You might lean back slightly, which non-verbally communicates relaxation and signals that you are not going to crowd their space. This combination of being anchored in your own worth and inviting others into your space with warmth and curiosity is what creates social magnetism. You are no longer sending the needy, desperate cues of a chaser. Instead, you are sending cues of security, warmth, and high value. You become someone people want to be around, not someone they feel they have to manage or placate. This isn't about being passive. It's about being powerfully patient. It's the difference between a frantic fisherman casting his line over and over and a lighthouse standing firm and shining its light, allowing ships to navigate toward it. Attracting energy. When you consistently practice the anchor and invite framework, a fascinating and powerful phenomenon occurs. The dynamic flips. The energy you were once putting into chasing others starts to be redirected back toward you in the form of social gravity. Everything begins to chase you. This isn't a mystical process. It's rooted in fundamental human psychology and neurobiology. When you interact with people from a place of anchored, inviting energy, you trigger a very different set of neurochemical reactions in their brains than a chaser does. A chaser, with their needy cues and social pressure, can subtly elevate cortisol levels, the stress hormone, in the other person. This makes the interaction feel like work, like an obligation. But a person with magnetic, attracting energy does the opposite. Their calm, open, and genuinely curious presence creates a sense of psychological safety. This feeling of safety and being genuinely seen can trigger the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is associated with feelings of trust, connection, and social well-being. In essence, you make people feel good, safe, and interesting just by being in your presence. And humans are wired to seek out experiences and people that make them feel that way. This is when you start to notice the shifts. People will start to lean in toward you in conversations. They will ask you more questions, trying to learn more about your world. They will initiate contact more often. They will remember small details you shared and bring them up later, a clear sign of investment. You become a value adder in social situations. because you are not trying to extract validation. You are free to give the gifts of genuine listening, thoughtful questions, and a calm, non-judgmental presence. People can feel this difference on a deep, intuitive level. You become the person at the party that others seem to orbit. You become the colleague whose opinion is actively sought out in meetings. You become the friend that others feel they can truly open up to. This isn't because you have the best stories or the wittiest jokes, but because your energy communicates a core message of, I am okay and you are okay. Let's just be here together. This is the ultimate source of charisma. Charisma isn't about being a slick talker or the life of the party. Scientific research shows that the most charismatic people are often excellent listeners who make others feel like they are the most important person in the room. This is the natural outcome of attracting energy. You stop focusing on your own performance and instead place your focus on the other person, not out of a need for their approval, but out of genuine curiosity. You stop seeing conversations as a test you have to pass and start seeing them as an opportunity to explore. This shift from chasing to attracting is one of the most powerful you can make in your social life. It will not only change how others perceive you, but more importantly, it will change how you feel about yourself. You will no longer leave interactions feeling drained and wondering if you did a good enough job. You will leave feeling grounded, connected, and energized because you were operating from a place of authentic self-worth, not from a place of performance. You become the lighthouse, and the world can't help but be drawn to your light. The journey from chasing to attracting is not about learning a new set of tricks. It's about unlearning the deep-seated belief that your worth is conditional. It's about realizing that you don't have to run after connection when you can become a source of it. When you finally stop expending your energy trying to prove you are enough, you create a beautiful, quiet space into which everything you ever wanted can finally arrive. True magnetism is the peaceful radiance of a soul that has come home to itself. At what moment did you realize you were the chaser? No judgment, just awareness. Let's talk about it.